gains tax. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz continue to go full communist. They've come out with their new plan, 25% on unrealized gains. And of course, they say, oh, it's only for the people making over $100 million, just like they say when they raise taxes, it's only for people who make over 400K. Remember back in 2004, 2005, when they said all they wanted was gay marriage to be legal? And Republicans were like, all right, that's not that big of a deal. It ended up happening. And look at where we are now, just 2 decades later. This is the definition of moving the goalposts. Now we have to allow biological males to compete with females. We have to allow 12-year-olds to transition, or you're a transphobe. You have to initiate the process and acclimate people to the idea of these crazy practices by first starting it by saying, look, it's only for people that are really rich. It'll never happen to you. You're never making $100 million. But of course, I think number one, they're trying to eliminate billionaires. We saw what happened with Elon Musk. Imagine if Elon Musk didn't exist and they controlled all of social media. Guys, we lived in a world where the left had full control of everything online. Legitimately everything. Now, sure, there were going to be other sites that came up, but still, it's Twitter, it's Facebook back in 2020. Remember everything they did. They end up silencing the Hunter Biden story and manipulating that election. They're trying to eliminate billionaires. They don't want any single person to be as powerful or more powerful than the government. That's why they hate Musk. And it is funny, you see Elon Musk right here, but let's take a look at what they actually want to do. A 28% corporate tax, a 45% capital gains tax, 45% I wonder what's the stipulation on that, because I don't know the stipulation on that. I would imagine it's if you make hopefully over like 10 million, 45% capital gains tax, 25% tax on unrealized gains, which is totally anti-American. And again, they're going to talk about, oh, it's only on people that make over $100 million. Let me just explain what unrealized gains tax really is. So say you invest into a company. Let's say, you're down on money. You're trying to get it back. You throw your money into a stock. This is even worse when it comes to crypto, the amount of money people can make in crypto, and the idea, oh my God, is there unrealized gains tax? No way. They can't manage crypto. There's no way they'd be able to see how much money you potentially made off of crypto, especially if you store it in cold storage. But when it comes to the stock market, the idea of unrealized gains, let's say you invest $20,000 into a stock, it 5Xs, so now it's at 100K, but you don't sell it within the a year or 2 years. Let's say it's a long-term hold. You're getting taxed because it's unrealized gains because the stock is at 100K. You're going to get taxed on that. But it's like you haven't sold the stock. You don't have. Why would I have the money to pay for the gains tax? I haven't gained the money. Unrealized gains. I haven't gained anything yet. So why would I have to pay taxes on something I haven't gained? I have not cashed out the money that I would make from the stock. It's still in there. I still think it's going to go up more. You see how ridiculous it is? And again, it's very important people understand this, and you need to be thinking like this. They say it's only for people making 100 million. Think ahead of them. They want to implement this on the lower brackets, but they have to start it and tell us, oh, it's only for people making 100 million, and really get us open to the idea of it. And then in a few years, it's going to be, oh, if you make 10 million, because do people really need $10 million? Remember, you've got leftists proposing if you make over $5 million, 99% of, that next dollar after 5 million should go to the government, which of course would destroy our economy because nobody would be incentivized to build anything. But that's the way these people are like, but no, it would work so well. You don't need $6 million. That's not how a capitalist society works. It is unbelievable. Another community notes win. This is very sad what happened to Axios. Axios, I thought during the whole Biden saga, they had some interesting scoops. They were reporting decent stuff. And now they have totally gone to the left. Not surprising. We don't call it price controls, how price gouging bans really work. So they're saying it's not price controls. The same exact author called it price controls when the UK proposed voluntary caps on grocery store profits. So you can just see they're lying about what they've said in the past, and they're not being consistent because they're trying to benefit the Kamala Harris potential regime. And this is a good example. So this is Zoom. You guys remember Zoom? Like if you invested in Zoom back in January of 2020, right before the pandemic, this is pretty crazy how like you would literally hit the jackpot if you invested in Zoom in January of 2020, because that's before when everyone used it, and it still only did like a 5 or a like maybe like a 9 or a 10x. I mean, I guess that's good money, but it's like you would think it'd be the jackpot. You would think, oh my god, this thing's gonna go up 50x, 100x. But you know, just because it's crazy what happened to it. It's like you had a crazy pandemic, and that caused everyone to be on Zoom, and all the teachers, you know, teaching lessons, colleges, everything, meetings. But this is just how ridiculous it is. Let's say you buy the Zoom stock right here for whatever, $50. You hold it all the way, which would not be very smart, but they would tax you in this period for this amount of unrealized gains. So you would be getting taxed for these gains that you have not cashed out. The issue is you don't cash it out. It goes all the way back down. Let's say you cash it out for a very small profit, but you've already been taxed for gains that you never got. That money is never going to be spent. It's never going to go into your bank account. It doesn't exist. You haven't cashed it out yet. It's still in the stock. That is how absurd the idea of unrealized gains tax really is. You do also have this panic mode for Kamala. Democrat mail-in requests this date versus 2020. I do think this needs context. The reason these numbers are down, now I do think it's bad news for Kamala in terms of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, in my opinion, it's going to be a state that Trump wins by about 1.8, 1.9, based off of a number of internal metrics, based off of approvability, based off of what we've seen with the voter registrations, Republicans cutting it in half. They've got over 450K lead in terms of voter registrations from 2020 at the end of the election to 2024. That is a seismic amount. Voter registration isn't everything, but you can see 28% decrease in terms of mail-in requests, and then a 17% decrease in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So these are the big Democratic hub cities. And there's a few reasons for this. Number one, I do think Trump will win Pennsylvania. Number two, in general, this is going to be a lower turnout election. So the fact that this is decreased really shouldn't surprise anyone. And then number three, there are going to be people that are not fear-mongered by the pandemic. And let's be honest, during the 2020 election, it was the heart of the pandemic. So more people wanted mail-in. All the top Democrats were doing the mail-in. Now some of them might decide to go to the polls because at this point, the pandemic is in the rearview mirror. So I would say that would probably be the proper context. It's going to be a lower turnout election. So you're going to see less of this in general, both from the left and the right, I would say. But this is a problem in terms of what we've seen with voter registration in Pennsylvania. I do think Pennsylvania is a huge state for Trump. Pennsylvania, Virginia, that's a death blow for the liberals. They'd have to win every other swing state, I think, to win the election at that point, and it still might not even be enough. Trump could very easily lose the other two Rust Belt states if he wins Pennsylvania, even by just win it by a hair, win it by 0.2, just like Biden did. And then take a state like Georgia and then Virginia, and you've won at that point. I mean, you've pretty much won if you take those three states. So Pennsylvania certainly is important, and the metrics in Pennsylvania and also in Arizona, by the way, are very good in terms of what we've seen. Kamala Harris has a -10 approval rating in Virginia, but I'm supposed to believe she has a positive approval national. Yeah, no, that's completely ridiculous. There is no way that she went from -15, -16 as a VP to having a positive approval rating of like +2 or +3, which a lot of these polls say she does. It makes no sense. It's whether you want to call it response bias or what, it's just a total lie. There is zero chance. And then even in Virginia, which is a liberal state, this was a big key because they released that Roanoke poll and they gave the underlying metrics, and it showed that her approval rating was -10 and Glenn Youngkin's was like +14, and Glenn Youngkin is going to be campaigning for Trump. That is great news. And then you've got this from PBS of all places. What's going on with PBS? This woman just blatantly lies. This is here. Let's walk here.
It is. I would venture PBS. To say, without hearing this directly from anybody, that one thing that the Harris campaign would love is if President Biden would bring home a ceasefire in the Middle East right now between Gaza and Israel. And we know that Secretary of State Blinken is over there right now working with Netanyahu. The reporting is that former President Trump is on the phone with the Prime Minister of Israel, urging him not to cut a deal right now.
The reporting from who? It's just blatant lies. It's like a Democrat operative told her to say this, and this is PBS of all places. You're just lying. You're making things up at the reporting. What are you talking about? Oh my goodness. It is so sad. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.